Let's. We have Dr. Roman.
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay.
It's loading all that stuff.
Okay, and while we're waiting, just to remind everyone that tonight's discussion is just the process with the firm. With Pearson and Jacobson and with our consultant, Dr. Henry Roman, there he is. And what our next steps are, because we did contract with them and then there's a guarantee. So we get to do another search, but this isn't the best timing. But we want to know what our options are and how that should go. So that's what we have. Dr. Roman here to talk to us about. Did you want to introduce yourself and then
Yes.
us a little bit of information of what we start with?
Sure enough. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Henry Roman. Some of you I know, some of you I don't know, but probably get to know you a little bit better in the next few days and weeks, depending upon how you want to proceed. But you signed a contract last year, and this is phase 5 of that contract, which simply says that we will honor a second year of a search process should either party not continue the relationship. In this case, he decided to resign, so we're going to step in and try to complete that to make sure that you have a superintendent going forward. Now, how you do that is really going to be your choice. We're here to work with you. And by the way, this is at no cost except for any supplies, materials, expenses. But the actual consulting fee has already been paid, and so there's no cost going forward other than what I just stipulated. So the discussion tonight ought to be about how you want to move forward, because you need to have somebody helping you as in that position of superintendent, whether it's an interim superintendent or the actual superintendent, and that takes place immediately. You need to have somebody on board sooner than later, but the process can take time. I'll give you an example. Westcliff, the little school district to the west, they lost their superintendent and their high school principal just about a month ago as well. And so they're going through the process right now. They're doing a search. They're doing a full-fledged search looking for a full-time superintendent. The pickings are a little leaner right about now than they would be back in if we're to wait until November, December, January, February. There'll be more superintendent candidates then. But I have to tell you, there are some people that are interested in the vacancy there at La Junta now. So it's really up to you how you want to proceed. Do you want to find an interim, somebody that you'll just hire on a temporary basis to fill the gap until you fill the position permanently? Do you want to seek somebody in the meantime, starting right now, to post the position for somebody full-time? And if you're fortunate enough to find somebody, then that would be your superintendent going forward for whatever contract you would choose to sign. So that's the kind of conversation you need to have. Do you have somebody right there in your midst, or do you know somebody already who can help you through the short term until you get somebody in place, let's say sometime in November, October, whenever it happens? Or do you want to start right now and do a search and get somebody in place that'll be there for the long term?
We'll just start. Stacy, do you want to, let's just go down the line and give thoughts.
I'd like the process to start right away. We already have people set up in the position, so I think they're great. That's where I'm at.
Do you want to start looking for a permanent right now, or?
Yeah. Just start in fall. I would say right away. Yeah. Like, yeah, now. Yeah, now. Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
I have a couple questions. If we decide to look for an interim superintendent, is that something you guys help with? And is that considered our free consulting? And then when we do the search later, then that's an additional fee? No, it's
No.
all included.
No, we'll do
So we
whatever it
could
takes.
essentially-
We'll
Right,
do
go ahead.
whatever it takes to find a permanent superintendent for you. And if it means trying to find an interim right now, we'll do that as well.
Okay. My other question is if we open it up now and we get applicants and we decide we don't like any of the applicants, can we then do an interim and then do a search later or kind of just
Yes.
whatever puzzle pieces we decide to make it fit?
Yes and yes.
I think my thought is, I think looking for an interim superintendent would be most beneficial. My eyes, just because that we get someone in place and kind of steer the ship while we gather our ducks and put our ducks in a row to get exactly what we're looking for, and then open up the search at that opportune time, November, December, and look for a permanent on that tonight.
Um. I think I'd like to open it up, and start looking now. I think. And I've said this before, no disrespect to the three of you people, you guys are doing a fantastic job, but. I think we need an interim person as soon as possible, so that you guys can go back to being focused on like one thing as opposed to 25 things. So that's my preference. And we get an interim in as soon as we can, and we start looking for a permanent, all kind of at the same time.
So Greg,
Going around.
Greg,
Go ahead.
let me ask Greg a clarification question. When you say an interim, would that, so you post a position and you say this is an interim position with the understanding that that could be the permanent, or are you just looking for an interim and then do a separate search for the permanent position?
Yeah, I think we would post it in the way I kind of thinking about it is we post this as an interim position, and then we would post, then we would go out and look for a permanent. Does that make sense?
I don't know if you can answer this, Henry, or, so my understanding, at least the way that I understood it when we talked with our, legal counsel, is if we do not have the interim for more than 9 months, then we can appoint one. But if it's gonna be longer, then we have to publicize, that we have that opening. Is that correct?
I defer to your legal counsel.
Okay. Because I know that we've got, there are some people that email and they have an interest, so we could look through letters of interest for the interim, but then also begin the search for a permanent that starts in. I'm with Sarah on this. Like, I'd like to have the interim. I do think that we need that is necessary, but I want to make sure that that you still provide the services so that they can have a search for their permanent, and that might be the interim person. They still can apply, obviously. But
Sure.
I want to make sure it's still part of our contract.
Yes, and the question that I would ask is, would you allow those interim candidates to apply as for the permanent position?
Why would anybody that
Yeah.
if they're qualified, they should apply. I think the next thing that I have, not a concern, but I think that we should do first. We tabled that policy that describes our superintendent's roles and responsibilities. that we need to bring that back onto the agenda and, adopt that policy so that we don't run into, because we couldn't change that policy without comparing it to our current superintendent signed contract, because if we added or subtracted any of the duties, we might have been in breach of contract, so that piece should be done first. And then I guess really it's, do we want to take like letters of interest for an interim until and they would be eligible to apply for the permanent when we,
I think we could post the interim position. Just because there could be some people in the community that aren't aware that there is an opening for that type of position. Where if we post it, we'll get possibly more people than just those who have it already about it.
okay. Now, when we do that, is it the same process that we're for an interim where we have the full of candidates and we have to do, like, is the process the same, or is it, can we hire the interim and they're appointed versus us doing the whole 3 committees and
I wouldn't do the whole process. I would leave it up to the board. I would leave it up to the board. You would post the position for an interim, and then just the board would receive those applications, and the board would we would do this. I would do the same thing. I would go through those applications and get them to you, and you then would decide on which of those 3 you might want to interview, or 4 that you might want to interview, and then you just select your interim because it's going to be a short-term contract.
I'm sorry, Henry, I was late to the party. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you think having an interim position is gonna hurt our chances of hiring a full-time superintendent if that person is not the interim? Do you think that's gonna hurt the number of applications that we receive?
No, I don't think so. I think people realize that that there's going to be that you're looking for a broader pool later on. On the other hand, if you want to make a decision quicker, you might enjoy the work that interim is doing for you, and that person is going to be an applicant as well. So, but no, I think people will apply regardless.
We done? We done? I think, Henry, what is in my mind, if I was gonna apply for this permanent position, and I knew that there was only 2 board members guaranteed to come back, and you're gonna could have the potential of 3 completely new board members. I guess that seems to be a little bit of a problem for me. If I was applying, I'd want to know who's on the board. Is that something to factor in?
Sure, those are all big questions for interim candidates, but there are some people that are just looking for a short-term position. There's some people that they don't want a full-time job. They just want to do something for maybe 3, 4, 5 months. And if that's what you're looking for, that's great. So that might be the candidate that you want.
I also feel that, well, and that's why I was saying I agree with Sarah with having an interim now, like, I don't know if we want to have like applications or just please submit a letter of interest and then we interview everybody, we talk, however, well, we can ask for your guidance on what's the best way for that, but I think that it would be fair to the next board coming in for the permanent search to start in at the right time, because they should be the ones that make that decision. It should be up to them. They should make that choice.
Yeah, I agree. You're going to have how many positions up?
3.
Yeah, that it would really help for those to make the choice.
Well, and if there's applicants too, it'll make them feel better because then they know what kind of board they're walking into. Whereas if we start the search now, they don't really know what they're walking into. I mean, no.
So one thing that we, from this conversation, can all take away is that we agreed that we need an interim immediately. And so now I feel better because I didn't understand whether we could still have an interim and then that counts as our do-over, or if we still do both.
We can do
And that's
both.
what I was looking for clarification on. So if we can do both, then I really feel like, we need an interim immediately. But I don't know, I wanna just make sure I'm understanding, like, so Stacy, you wanna do the search now permanent?
Yes, because I don't want to lose your guys' experience. I know that we'll have new board members, but you guys also. You know what I mean, like you have experience, you've already been through this process. I just feel like. We'll be missing that.
But we not apply or ask to be on one of your interview meetings?
That would work.
I don't know if I'm on board or not for interim. Okay. I feel that brand new, Greg, you feel that, you know, you've been in the thick of it for just a little bit. When you first came on board, do you feel like you could pick a new superintendent based off of what you knew about the school board?
Well, you are on interview committee, so like,
When I came on as a board member, I couldn't even do a superintendent evaluation. That's how much I didn't know.
Yeah. So am I hearing you say you're not sure where you are in that interim?
I'm not sure. I'm sold on the interim. I understand that we need someone to lead the ship. Where, did you guys say where the three of you are? Do we need an interim?
Or as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna push forward regardless.
I mean, we gotta bring somebody in. We're gonna put them in place for 3, 4, 5 months. It's gonna take 3 months to even bring them up to speed. By the time they stretch their legs, we're like, cool, thanks for holding the job, keeping the seat warm, get out there, find somebody else. Well, I think the people that would be applying for the interim are ones who have experience and campus environment. In my eyes. I think that that's what we would look for in an interim candidate, not someone who's brand new, that's never done it before, and slide in and run it, you know, that's not.
Dee,
Sorry,
for some reason, I can't hear Sarah. It comes across a little muffled.
I was just saying that the candidate that we would look at for interim would be somebody with experience that knows what they're doing and can step into the role and just kind of take it and go. Not really someone who would have to take 5 months to figure it out.
Yes.
But as unique as that is, they would have some superintendent experience. But do they have experience with a school that's been on turnaround that's now being dictated by the state? Do they have experience in navigating our best grant process? Because some experienced supers have never undergone that. Yeah, but that's why it's an interim position, and they just need to guide the district until we find that position.
Let me
If we
suggest,
leave the interim committee as we have now, none of them have experience with the best, you know, they don't have experience as a superintendent role. And we're expecting them to come in and guide the district for the next year until we have a permanent one. I don't think that's fair to them because they have their own roles that we need to be focused on. And our whole thing is that we have an academic officer now to focus on academics. But now we're like, hey, aside from that, you're also gonna have this role of running the district in addition to your job, where I think it would be more fair for them to have their specific roles that they're focused on and to have somebody who has experience running a district, come and run the district and going to find that permanent person.
Dee, let me suggest this. Maybe you want to post for a permanent superintendent and only post for about a month because we don't have the luxury of a lot of time. And then based on those candidates, you say, no, there's not a good candidate here that we would like to keep as our permanent superintendent, and then look immediately for an interim. One of those candidates might be a good interim. And with the idea that then you would start the search, a full-fledged search later on in the year. But at least you would give it a good shot to see if you could find a permanent candidate among the ones that would apply within the next month or so. That's the logic that Westcliff is using.
What is the time window that we're working with? This could be completely wrong. Again, I came in late, but I'm under the impression that our staff does not like to start a brand new school year without a leader of the ship. Are we looking to get a new superintendent by the next school year in August? Because that's what they told us the first time. So if that's the case, there's no point to having an interim who's gonna come in and steer the ship during the summer, only for us to change it in August. If that's not the timeline we're working with, then maybe an interim makes sense. But I heard our staff loud and clear ask us to make a decision and not start this school year without a superintendent.
Henry,
Did we talk about that or did I miss it?
I think that would be a good reason to hire an interim. Because wouldn't an interim take less time to hire than a permanent one, Dr. Roman?
It'll take the same amount of time. Right now, there are some candidates out there. I've got people that have called me and asked about this position, and they're good candidates. But it won't be as deep a pool as if we did it through the usual timeline, posting sometime in November and December and getting all those that are looking for positions. It won't be the same. You may not get very many candidates, but you'll get some candidates, yes.
would the pool of candidates for an interim and the pool of candidates for permanent, are those two separate pools?
They're different. There'll be some that are in the same mix, but they'll be different.
Yeah.
There are some people that are looking for just, a short-term job. And then there are some people that are looking for a permanent job that wouldn't mind being an interim.
To someone that is like a child.
Yeah.
It's like, just like, we might not be very good fit and they might be like, oh, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
My recommendation.
Well, go ahead.
My recommendation would be that you consider this option. Just post it as a permanent for about a month, because you don't have a luxury of a lot of time, and people are on vacation anyway, but see what you get in this month, and then go from there. With the idea that you're going to get a permanent there, and there may be one that's very good that you think this is the person that we want to carry us forward for the next school year, or not. And then you can make a decision at that point to go with an interim. We still will do the full search if you go with an interim. We still will do this full search in September, October, beginning in September, October, with the idea of getting somebody on board. Keep in mind that when you do a full search, you're looking for somebody that'll start the following July 1. Remember how we did it last time? People don't want to break their contracts in the middle of the school year.
So, sort of to your point, Angela, about you're in the staff. And I heard that.
You were here.
Yeah, I was there, and that was a conversation in our committee as well, that I heard from staff. What is your August 1st, have somebody, the leader by August 1st?
I would suggest doing exactly what Henry is recommending. Open it up and see what happens. And if we don't get anybody that we think just wows us, then we should default to the interim position. But I don't want to bring in an interim and we all think, man, this is wonderful. Because it's been really rough. The last couple of months, we're all gonna put on those rose shaded glasses and we're gonna be like, this is amazing. And I don't want us to make a default judgment. I want to really do it right, give it the time it needs. We've been there, we did that, we're smarter, wiser now. we're not as green. We know what to look for and how to ask for things that we now know we should have asked probably the first time.
And I think the experience that the city went through in their search for a new city manager. I mean, I thought, in my opinion, they did a great job. They took their time, they didn't get rushed.
How do you three feel? You two are doing more of the, I mean, I know you're to balance it out, but I'd like to know, like, we're going into the summer, and so I'd like to know what your workload is like over the summer and the things that are being done. I know there's I said that you may have already had that, but the superintendent timeline of things that need to be done, but I know there's some things that you guys can't legally do. So, I mean, we have those issues too.
You know, for me, summertime usually is a wind down, but it's also a wrap up for me. So this year specifically, I've normal projects that I've got tasks in addition to whatever else comes to the day. I'm not saying that in a way I'm saying I'm shying away, I'm just saying reality is for me right now. So there are days that it's like, it would be nice to have somebody just to focus solely on what the three of us are doing. But then there's days we all team up and it's like, you got this, you know? So it should just. I think we can handle it alone pretty well. Right now, you know, still without having the crystal ball, hard to say what tomorrow's gonna bring, or next month or next week, you know.
My thoughts, I really like what was just mentioned, and kind of what Angela, you had talked on was opening up that permanent role to see what that net gives us. We know our timeline is off, that doesn't mean we can't find something awesome we really like. Try and find a better way to word it, but I feel like there's a way that we can kind of turn this to an advantage as well. Or as a school district right now, we can put that search out, we can look for somebody, and really phrase it to the point that, hey, this could be an interim position where you're testing it out for the year, this could be a permanent. But having those conversations, seeing who's applying and then filling that role, and if we can fill someone by August 1. And give them next year to look at that and then reevaluate whether we want to do a second search or not. I feel like that gives us kind of the best of everything. We're casting the net, we're not missing any potential opportunities. Because right now it's just this gray that we don't really know. So it's like if we cast that net, we see the fish that we get. That doesn't mean that we're also stuck. We don't have to settle at that point because we know that this next round, this November, December roll should give us some more water to fish from. We would say with the same analogy. And then we can kind of cast that net again. You know, I think the luxury we have right now is that we have a plan C. And we've been plan C now for a minute, and so
And we really kind of gave that all to you in a very unconventional way. We didn't even prep you for that. We just threw you in and said, luck.
yeah. Yeah.
Other duties is assigned.
You know, it just. I hear that same want to where we don't want to miss any opportunities. I don't think that means that we have to cast this now and then after the pace. I mean, we can cast it now and see. That doesn't mean we have to settle. That means we can look at it. Even if we go through, let's say we find someone they set up for August. And then we get on 3 brand new board members and the mesh is not there. Okay, well, that's right in the prime to say, hey, here's what we're looking at. We want to shift gear, we want to stay the same because in a few months to kind of make that decision as they wrap up next year. Or you have the other side of it, that we do it, you guys look at the net and just go, man, we don't want to make it just like, why would we cast it then? It just seems like we're back. And I think we cast it and open it to people in intro now. Just kind of go that route.
Just to clarify, you're liking to open up two openings, an interim and a permanent, to see what we get for both?
No, I'm saying one, but as we look at like the contract side of it, of being upfront and transparent with saying, hey, right now, our goal is to have this interim. To relook at having a permanent, but bringing somebody aboard and then having that same process if they want to move into being a permanent.
Do you wanna open up an interim?
No. I guess in a way, yes, you could say that you would open it up an interim with the possibility of it being permanent. And just having that idea that it could really be fluid with the fact that, okay, we can do this interim and it works out great. We decide, hey, at the end of next year, we want to keep them on as a permanent. We looked at the permanent casting in November, December. We like what we've got. We didn't keep that, just kind of keeping those doors open.
I think we're getting hung up on words. So interim, those who would be applying to that position understand that it is a temporary position. It is a very short contract. My question, I guess, then to the group is, are we wanting this interim, you said August, but the fiscal year starts in July. Do we want them to start July 1 and then end in once a new superintendent has been chosen, because we start the search in November? Like an open-ended contract in that way? Is that, or are we trying to say that they would start at the beginning of the fiscal year and they end in November and then we're still hunting? And we, or not we won't be there.
We're going out.
So, I mean, what I'm saying, like, the thing is that whoever the interim is, they can still apply.
Wouldn't they stay from the time you hired them till the June 30th, because the next one, if we open it up in December or whatever, wouldn't start until July 1, right? So I would think that
Okay.
from my side anyway, it would be easier to have them on a contract.
Yeah, I guess that's the link of the contract.
It would be June, I would have them run, no, if you hired them, I guess July 1 or August 1, depending on when you hire them. But I would have it run.
Earlier, it's in policy that it can't happen for longer than 9 months.
That's just if we don't post it.
Yeah, we can appoint interim, and that's how you guys ended up having this as a committee. You're gonna have to post that because you're not gonna do this for that long. So,
Henry, is it possible to cast that wide net, say we're looking for someone to fill this permanent position and give them a 1-year contract right out of the gate? And if everything is working and it's well, then the contract to in fact be our permanent superintendent? Is that a thing, or?
That's a thing, but not a popular thing. I mean, if I was, I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, I'm looking for a multi-year contract.
and if they're the one, then they would apply and they would still they would still rise to the top. So
Now think about it. If you post for an interim, and that person applies thinking they're going to have the job for how long? Are they going to, and maybe they're only interested in a year contract or a year position. So they're going to take it from, let's say, August 1 through next year, August 1. But by that time, you will have gone through the search and had another one. So that's a possibility. On the other hand, interims may only want a 3 or 4 month position. And then you find yourself in 3 or 4 months putting you at maybe October, November, where the person says, that's all I wanted to work. I didn't want to work the full time. So you got to find somebody who's going to want to work a full year on an interim basis. My recommendation again is simply to post for a permanent position right now. Take your best shot for a month of posting, see what you get, and then based on what you as a board determine to be good quality candidates, because you fought the battle, so you now know what it takes to win the battle. You can choose a good candidate, but if you don't see one among the pool, then you just say, okay, how about let's appoint one of these because they're pretty darn good as interims, and there's more likelihood that you would find an interim there. But if you find one that you really like, that you want to be your permanent, then you just go ahead and do the offer the contract for the 1 or 2 years, whatever it takes to get this individual.
from Stacy and Sarah, specifically how you feel about that, because you are guaranteed to be sitting here.
You will
at
live
that time.
I like that. I like that. I just don't want to sit on it. I feel like Angela said, the teachers want like by August. So that's how I feel too. You know, it's kind of rushed and all that, but somebody in the position by that time, then we can do, we don't like them, we can do that whole thing and
I think my hesitation, oh, sorry. No,
Oh, I was just gonna say, that is a good option, I think. Because if we get applicants in, we don't think any of them are what we want. We don't have to move forward with any of them, and then we can pursue an interim or however that looks. Because that's the option. It does feel a little rushed. Because we have to get together, you know, everything that we're wanting and, you know, the job description and everything that we went through last time, we have to kind of revamp and redo. That took a while to get through all that. So it does feel a little rushed, so that's my concern. But I definitely think that's a good option if our options open, if you don't like it.
well, that's why I shared the folder. I mean, you guys all have you're the only one that didn't, but that's why I shared it. It was just to remind us like this is the process. And then, so if there's things that we want to tweak, then we can bring that up to because I know we wanted to ask completely different questions. And do like the interview part differently, but I mean, when we get to like that part, that would be. So.
We're not starting entirely from scratch though. The majority of us have been through the process. Last time, I mean, right, the four of us right
All
here,
of us except for these
but
two.
we've been through the process. Now we kind of have a feel for what to expect. It's gonna feel rushed on our end because we're gonna have to do some things to get our act together quickly, but we know better now.
It's like a second year.
You know better.
Sorry, just, I totally,
That's very valid, Greg.
sorry, kids. Okay, so I was gonna say on the other side of that same coin. What I'm worried about is this whiplash, because right now. You know, I think that you guys are dealing with some very, very heavy stuff. I think you're doing it well for the experience that you have. But then, you know, there are things that have to get done because we have to close the year out. I'm just saying, there are deadlines that have to be met, things that have to be done. Then we're gonna start this search, we'll have an interim, and then it is kind of whiplash, because then now we have someone that comes in that's new, and what if because in that moment, they can have totally different vision of what they want to do in that short period of time, but I'm hoping, Henry, that in your experience with interims, they understand that it's like, we're just keeping things the day-to-day going, but having the authority of a superintendent, but not necessarily coming in and we're gonna change all these things in this short amount of time, and then turn around and have another, we don't like the pool, we don't like candidates, and then hire a permanent, and then they come in with a different vision and wanna change things. I don't wanna I feel like
We did do that once. That's why it feels very familiar, if we did it. Even if we get a permanent superintendent in place, we need to be able to successfully sell them on the progress we made. We are moving in the right direction, regardless of the leader. We are doing exactly what we need to be doing. So while they may have fresh ideas and maybe a different approach, what we're doing is already working. We should stay the course without any major course correction. Because we're improving our scores. We've already told the state what we're doing. They don't have a whole lot of wiggle room.
Again, I've not been in that, but just being a leader, stepping into a building. To me, it would be unintelligent to go into a building, see brand new systems that people are starting to roll out, to follow, to get on board with. To look at the financial support that we put into all these plans and go the other way. To me, that would not be an intelligent leadership move. So where I see that kind of fear, I feel like for the most part, most people are gonna come in, see it, and then see how they can tweak it to enhance, or, you know, it's gonna get tweaked to what they have or what they see where they can, you know, support it the best. But to me, if you even look at just as like a leadership model, that would be incredibly difficult just to come in and change all that stuff, whenever you can look at the district and say financially, how much, just even financially, how much time we put into that, how much money, the resources, all of the things we're allocating towards that.
We just purchased a bunch of new everything.
Yes, so for me, any leader that would come in and just try to disregard that, it just wouldn't, it wouldn't mesh, if that's making sense. I feel like,
Well, it
And
makes
there's
a lot of sense, but that doesn't mean that
but
it's
and you're
not.
right, it doesn't mean that it couldn't happen.
Because
We can target our questioning and our interview process and our job description to kind of focus on that area to support what we're already doing and not tear it down and come in with a new vision and new ideas.
Even if you fill that role with that person who's going to try to bring about radical change, the buck stops right here. All you have to do is say. No. No.
And I mean. But the state. We have the wiggle room.
Don't, we don't.
And I mean,
We've already sold them on the plan.
exactly, so that's locked in. And TNTP, I'll get it one of these days, and University of Virginia, we're pretty much committed, right?
No, pretty much we
We
are.
are.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, that whole piece of that, I think Angela had said it, that somebody had said it, that movement that's still happening in the
Yeah.
district regardless of who's at the top of the spear. A lot of that's coming from those partnerships and the leaderships that we have in all of our buildings, and just that working together to have a better vision, to get all on the same page. I mean, that's where that's coming from. That's where we're building now.
So
Okay.
I think then that for the plan. Steps, I think I can send. The information to the board, so there's that policy we need to review. Because it should match the job description. There's the job description that we posted the last time, that should be reviewed, and then the interview questions. And I think that should be on the next agenda. And be prepared to make any suggestions. For changes on all three of those, and then. And then work with Henry for a timeline.
But I sent you a draft position description yesterday or day before. Do you have that
Yes.
hand? That's, I think, a good starting point. I don't think you need to do a whole lot of tweaking to the hard work that you did all last year in preparation for
No,
the.
but we have a new member. I'd like him to at least have the opportunity to give input. I know you guys did it before, but just to be fair, and it shouldn't take that long, but.
I think we should need to do it though prior to our next board meeting, because I think we need to get this job posted like next week at the latest.
Yes,
to
I'm-
start the process.
I agree.
Exactly.
Because if you, like,
If we push it, then that's July before we're even
Exactly.
interviewing people. And
Yes,
that-
sooner the
I feel
better.
too late.
I'm with you, sir. I
Then
mean,
so then are we good with the job description we used the last time?
I don't remember it.
I don't either. I didn't really do it.
Okay,
I mean,
but let's hurry up and do this next week.
So here's what I think, because
But I don't wanna be like, that's fine, I'll go through it and be like,
No,
I don't wanna do that.
you should, because it's not a one person decision, it's a board decision. But really what we need to do is we need to devote the time to have a work session to go through it, so we're all on the same page. To go through that secondary, the word, what is that? Policy, the second reading of the policy. I don't know if that was ever really clear, there was just so much around that, I don't know if everybody had the full opportunity.
It was never read
To wrap it, there,
per se.
well, I know, because there was too much around it, we never got there. Let's all sit together and devote the time, and I can say this comfortably because I have no time to spare. let's just do it and hammer it out. And then we're all on the same page and not one person is responsible for doing it. Then when we leave, you can't complain because you also helped.
Yeah. We're here till 7:30. I don't know if you guys.
Time is
well,
of the essence. Time is important.
Okay, so then the next step would be to schedule another work session unless you guys want to try to pull up on your phones these drafts.
My thought is we're already here right now. Let's just try to hammer it out and take care of it so we can post it. That would be my first vote. Second vote is if we can't do it tonight, then do it like tomorrow, Friday or Saturday.
So we'll have to have a special session because we cannot do policy in a work session. We can discuss it, we can't adopt it. And then it would still
So
be
we don't
posted
need
in-
any
action items in a work
Yeah.
But we don't need it adopted until,
It's on the agenda.
yeah, because we can wait on that. Really what we need to hammer out would be the job description, which coincides with the policy and we have to adopt it right away. And then, right, wouldn't that be the only thing, the job description? Right, Dr. Roman?
Right
Say that,
now.
please.
Just the job description is what we would need to get done now to post the job.
We just need those bullet points that we did last time, just 4 or 5, the ones that the ones that you had last time just simply said you're looking for a leader, a visionary, a communicator, somebody who's visible, somebody who's accountable, and then it has some brief descriptions on it, just something like that. That's all we need for posting.
Yeah.
But we need to be cautious that is the meat and potatoes. When we comes to talk about the salary, we all need to be united front.
Yeah,
We're not doing that.
salary's important. That's a big one. Salary is important. And benefits.
This is where we have, this is what we had the last time, and what he was saying, like not to redo again. Do you want me to read the whole thing to you guys? If you want.
Please just say it's like that, right?
Yeah. I can read those.
Yeah.
So we're looking for a superintendent who embodies the following qualities. As a leader, a humble person who demonstrates unwavering integrity, cultural competency, and ethical decision-making. A strong, innovative collaborator who fosters leadership development in staff and implements a positive learning culture and a system of excellence. A leader devoted to growing individuals through coaching and is outcomes-based and results-oriented. Visionary, an individual who builds excellence through research and demonstrates the ability to drive innovation across all levels, from classroom to the community. Communicator, a transparent and trustworthy communicator who uses technology-based platforms and social media effectively to engage staff, parents, students, and the community. Visible, an individual who will become integrated into the community through attending school community events, engages with local businesses, and participates in community forums that would benefit the district. Translates research into actionable strategies for classrooms, school board buildings, and community improvement. Accountable, an individual with strong financial management skills and commitment to fiscal responsibility that includes Colorado school finance and budgeting, capital projects, bond financing, grant writing, cost analysis, and management. Leads with clear and common sense procedures, policies, and practices that provides opportunities for staff to feel empowered while holding them accountable for student success.
Do we have to
Sounds,
change it?
sounds good to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that really captures what we're still looking for.
I think the essence is right. That's still what we want.
Yeah.
Okay,
What else do we need, Dr. Roman?
We still
Okay,
like
Pat.
it. We still like it.
What else do we need?
Well, you need to do the salary. And then you need to
What was
tell
it?
when this is going to close.
What was our salary range before?
115 to 145. West Cliff, the top end on West Cliff is 135.
But that's not what we actually ended up paying.
145 to 150 plus comprehensive benefits package is what we have advertised.
But that's not where we landed.
Well, we're not as we.
Oh, yeah. No. Where did we end up at? We were above that. No, we were, we were at. We got to the,
So the salary range that we have here is still agreeable.
135 to 140, is that what you said?
115 to 145.
Do you have on hand what we ended up with with our search last year, where we ended up?
Well, right here, we said 145 to 150 plus comprehensive benefits package.
Hold on, I don't know.
The salary range for this position.
What? I don't know,
What was your question?
where we ended up with that.
You mean, what was his actual?
Yes. Where is it?
It'll be on the position.
The job description that we're gonna put out, what we're, the salary range we're offering.
Isn't that what we're talking about? We're not fixing.
We were saying 135 to 140, is that what I heard?
If that's what you
I'm
want.
just, I'm just.
No, I need
where all
somebody
these
to
numbers
say,
are
like,
coming
I don't know, because I'm just telling you what we posted last time, was 145 to 150 plus comprehensive benefits package.
She just said we did that. What did you say we did last time?
He
What was
said
our posting?
150 to. He said it backwards.
150,
I lost it.
115 to 145. That was the range.
115?
Yes. And I also gave you what West Cliff is paying.
What did you say West Cliff was paying?
Well, just for
145.
comparison, West Cliff only has 350 kids and they're offering 115 to 135.
Okay.
Higher than that, plus you got a comprehensive benefit package. You got to negotiate what you wanted in this benefits package. Because we wouldn't give them more money.
Let's not talk about him specifically, let's talk about like what we want.
I want to make sure that we leave that solid enough that we don't get negotiated to go higher than where we're comfortable. Okay. But I don't think I would go to base rate. I think what we didn't make was a base pay, we had to overpay and comprehensive package.
So then we'll keep the salary range the same. Dr. Norman.
Unless you feel we need to look at a higher number to capture better candidates.
Well, I know that you'll be competing with West Cliff. Actually, they'll get their deadline for closing is June 17th. But they've had 2 weeks on you.
I think you gotta be at least.
Guys. Inside conversations, let's have a conversation with the group.
We're trying to get on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can't do that if we can't follow what you're saying, because you just keep reiterating the same number to us. So we're clarifying to get on the page you're on.
All I was reading to you was what was on the last time that we posted the.
Right, that's not even what Henry said.
Okay. All I am saying is what was on the form that was posted. So if it's a typo, okay.
Trying to figure it out. Because then comparing what we posted to where we edited is also valid information. To kind of gauge
Where we need to be.
So what is the range? Because we already were not happy with. what happened the last time, because that's not,
But we were more talking on the comprehensive benefits side, not the base salary side. This kind of is where I was. Cause the base
as the
salary,
side,
yeah, cause the base salary, we ended up in the middle. It was the,
comprehensive package that set us over the top.
yes,
Which we didn't have any input in trying to negotiate that. Everybody had. We had initial input, but we didn't get to partake in the original back and forth before decision was just said, okay, here's what we're doing, here's what we agreed upon. I sent everything to you guys before it was sent to me. We're not. You want to stay on base salary, so that's what we're talking about.
so my thought is, I think that pay range is still a good pay range. Because I think we still got good candidates with that pay range, and then we were able to end up in the middle. And so I think. I like that.
So do I.
But what is the pay range?
115 to 145.
I'm good with that.
I'm fine with that.
You hear that, Henry?
Yes. It's essentially what I have printed on here, Dee. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
What else is needed, Dr. Roman?
Well, what I put on here, and I just put it on there to get it in print, I put that this would close on July 9th, which means that you guys would have to formally approve this sometime between now and soon, so that it could be posted. We'll put it nationwide, we'll put it Colorado wide. I'll send it to all my colleagues, get people who are interested, and get it out there as soon as you give the go-ahead. But that's the first state, is getting when you want this to close. As far as when you do the interviews, when you actually select the superintendent, we can work out those details. But those are the big ones to get it posted right away.
So if we close July 9th, when would we potentially be looking at interviews, and when would we potentially be looking at selection and start date?
It would just depend on when those people, let's say somebody from Alaska applies, then we got to give them some time to make arrangements to come down here. But during the summer, there's going to be a whole lot of flexibility. It's really your flexibility. When can you guys get together to do the interviews? So after, once we get this posted, you guys have to start thinking about when do you want to do the interviews?
So realistically, what would a timeline look like though?
I would say within a week after that, because I don't think we're going to get a bunch of applicants. So we can screen them. We can do we've also done the online the videos of them. I don't think we would do that. We would just go right to bringing them in, depending upon how many we get.
So essentially, we could be looking at and closing the 9th, we do interviews the 19th, and then selection at the board meeting on the 22nd. Is that kind
Sure.
of what we would be looking at, or
Yeah,
sorry, the
yeah.
28th?
Yes. Those
And
are,
then would they then start August 1st? Potentially, or,
well, it depends on their work contract situation, but that's what we could put out there. If they're under contract someplace else, they might have to give notice, but August 1st, yeah.
so
They
we
know
could
this.
potentially have someone starting prior to the new school year starting.
Yes, that's what we're striving for.
What is
I couldn't understand that.
I said new teachers report July 30th.
When does the rest of this staff come back? Box 4.
So do you want somebody here before July 30th?
Say that again, Dr. Klein?
You want somebody on board before July 30th?
I mean, that would be stellar, but didn't we say we were gonna cast the net? And if we got great people, we would consider them, and if not, we would go the interim option.
That cutoff date of July 9th seems to be.
That's what I was trying to ask. Guys, June first is next week.
No.
But if you were applying for a job, would you apply if that window was 2 weeks long?
Well, even if we cut it like the 30th, then we could potentially have interviews that fall week or something. I don't know.
We can close the closing date, make it sooner than the July 9th.
I would risk the effort. I've got a.
Oh, if it was a 2 week, or if it was a shorter period.
It's just that people are on vacation. You know, they're typically not looking for jobs right about now, so you just, it's your call. It's July 9th seemed like a good date, but you could shorten it and take your chances there. If you want to get somebody sooner, then shorten it from July 9th.
What date did we say we would post?
We have to make a formal motion to post the job, don't we, Henry?
You should.
Like in a meeting, so we're gonna have to call a special meeting in order to do that. Which Sarah originally said would need to be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Jill, how much time do we need? A date?
24 hours.
4 hours.
Can you do you guys do any phone motions by phone? Never done that?
I don't
Oh.
think a full board, I don't think that's already. We've never done it that way.
Okay.
But I mean,
Do like Friday,
Jill,
special meeting at lunch? Yeah. So,
Yeah, Friday's good.
Yeah.
Friday or Saturday.
I think we all have to give care.
24 hours of it.
All right, so we're looking Friday,
30th.
May
What
30th.
date, what date are you
June.
thinking?
We're thinking of having a special meeting on Friday at noon.
Okay, but what date are you thinking of closing? Instead of July 9th, what day would you like?
I think July 9th, everyone agreed sounded good.
Okay,
It's enough time.
okay.
So then if we approve it Friday, what day would it get posted?
Right away. I'll send all this information with that in place, and so it'll probably be posted that following Monday.
All right, so we have our special meeting set for Friday, May 30th to approve the search for a interim and the job description to get posted immediately following that.
We're not. Sorry, we're not calling it an interim, are we?
No, this would be this is for the position of superintendent of East Otero School District.
And then after, we can do the regular, the other stuff, the policy and the interview questions.
So then should we schedule at some point in June a work session or push that to July?
If we're gonna keep that same timeline with the July 9th cutoff, I would rather have all of our ducks in a row with the policy, with the questions, so they're not waiting on us.
Yes,
So can we send out a doodle for a June work session?
You could have a work session followed by a special session.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
So
To do the interview questions.
discuss and then decide.
Out of state, until June 9th. Sorry. I'll be back June 10th.
I'll be on a town first week too.
We're looking at like the middle week of June.
So we're looking at the week of June 16th for everybody then.
I think so.
If we
So,
do
I heard half the full schedule.
I'm letting you know. I'll have to give you on the 23rd because I'm out. The 20th until the 29th.
Is there anything else we should be tackling right now, Henry?
no, I think you're good. So you're thinking a meeting on June 16th to get all the details worked out?
The week of June 16th, Dr. Roman, I can email and he'll let you know what date is decided upon.
Okay,
And then we've got a regular scheduled meeting on the 23rd, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and I have a BOCES meeting on the 18th.
I think that's all we need for now.
Yeah, I think. Any other questions for? Dr. Roman? No?
So Dee, let me make sure that I have a clear direction from the board and from you. This will be posted on the following Monday based on what you report to me on Friday for a permanent position of superintendent of East Otero School District. Okay? Very good.
Let's make sure I have my numbers right. On 5:30, we're having a new. To agree, well, to discuss and vote on having that posted, 6/2, it'll be posted. And then sometime that week of June 16th, we'll have a special meeting with a work session before. To go over that specific policy and then, we can do the review questions and then I strongly recommend that we come to that work session with our suggestions ready.
Yeah.
And then, so that would count as first reading. And then if we put it on the agenda again on the 23rd. Okay,
When do we need to post for people for the other interview?
I think that's what we're doing in the work session. Well, no, I mean,
Just volunteers and people who want to be a part of that. Because we should probably do that here soon, so we can have people.
Do you want to have an interview committee together, even if
We have an
you
interview.
look at the pool and decide that you're not going to?
Well, we'll need one in moving forward to do an interim and won't. But if we close the 9th and have interviews for after. There would be enough time for it.
I think
it'd be a nice.
I don't think it'd be an issue, but I do think that it should be, that we should have like a Google form or something that we can put out if you're interested in being on the committee. And then have a specific, like, are you a community member, staff, or
Business
admin, or
whatever they are.
Last time, I mean. it felt like it was a lot of. Last, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad. But
Wasn't it because we had such high interest? In the committee, did we pick the committee last time?
Yeah, they were sent in groups of, from each
Okay.
building. Like, so there were teachers from each building and then admin and then. There were some as parents or community members. I think I only took the one person off. She's gonna apply for the job.
Yeah.
So I was like, you can't be on the committee now. So, but other than that, but no, I tried to just make sure that it was the same amount for each. Group, and then we had some people not show up. But yeah, it's a lot of people to coordinate.
But I felt we had a fair shake of representation throughout the district. No one could accuse us of it being one-sided.
Is that something that we can decide as a board for this time around of the committees and how many people?
Do we want to do that on that same work session?
Well, yeah. So then we'll talk about the Google form prior to that, so then. Interested, correct? Thank you.
And then, Henry, after we pick the interview committee. Will you have kind of like an orientation or run through with them? Like, here's what, because we still have to do, we're still gonna have to do a meet and greet as well. But I want to make sure that they understand, like, you can't ask these specific questions,
You give a recommendation,
Yeah, it'll be,
or not a recommendation.
Yeah. I mean,
You
you
don't-
have a rules list, but going over it with them so that they all get the same information at the same time.
yes,
There was a
Yeah.
lot of confusion last time. And they also thought that they were giving a recommendation at the end. I don't think they were clear on. They needed to do like a pros and cons list versus
Yeah.
a recommendation. So when they did come to present to us, they're like, oh. We came with a recommendation, not a list of pros and cons of everything.
Yeah, a lot of them made it up on the fly.
yeah,
One person kind of summarized what they heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of confusion last time from the interview people.
yeah, we'll make that clear. I don't know how many people you'll get to volunteer during the summer, but whatever your group you get, we'll work with them.
Anybody have any last?
I don't know whether it will impact it, but just as I'm looking at like academics that we have planned. It's like that week of the 9th, July 9th, I think it's, I'll double check, but UVA, which would be, myself, Claudia, Julie, Gina, as well as, Jen, will all be out at UVA that week. Which will be that following, if you guys are talking.
That's just the day that it closes, right? Okay, if you want to have it.
UVA, you're flying out the 13th.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to make sure that was on. So it'd be just, if you close it on the 9th and want to start interviews on that 13th, that second week. Just whether, just to weigh that out, that myself as well as the principals would be out at UVA in Virginia that week.
So I wonder if we try to do interviews like that for Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Did we want them a part of the interview process, wouldn't we?
Are we counting our chickens before they're hatched?
We'll just give it a timeline, because if we do have a big film, we want to do it, we want to have part of it. And so if it closes at 9, and we want to do interviews the 13th, then they're gonna be gone.
The 13th. is
13th.
the-
Sunday, or Sunday, okay.
Yeah.
And they'll be flying out Sunday.
We fly out that 13th and then return the 16th,
Oh, okay,
17th, so we fly out Sunday and then return either late Wednesday night
okay.
or Thursday.
So then can we do interviews on the 18th and 19th and then
Okay, okay, I
make
think,
a
think
decision on the 28th on our regular?
yeah. I was thinking you were saying they were gonna be gone the weekend that we were looking at doing. But never mind.
So I think we have our timeline. Do you want us to decide? That or wait till we get, I guess, we can do it. But to me, it looks like the next logical one would be July 18th. We did it over 2 days, right? Well, we did the meet and greet and then we did the, okay. So then we would be looking at a meet and greet on July 18th and then interviews on July 19th. And then on the 28th, making a decision. Is that? Hold on. Okay. The only time I won't be here, so I'll have to be remote on the 23rd. Our regular meeting on June 23rd, because I'll be in Denver, not in the middle of the desert, I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm flying out on the 24th. Do those dates make sense, Henry?
Yeah, they're falling into place. Did you
Okay,
have them
so
all
we can
listed? You want to list
Say
them to
again?
me again?
Okay, so we have that we're gonna have our special meeting on May 30th, this Friday. You're gonna post on June 2nd. And then on the week of the 16th, you're gonna do a doodle for that.
Yeah.
We'll have our work session and special meeting. And that's where we will go over the policy, so it matches our job description. We have a draft. And then we wanted to look at the interview questions and then also pick the committee. Pick our interview committees. So all that should be done on the 16th
The week of.
and. But yeah, the week of. Then the application closes on July 9th. I don't have a problem with July 9th. I'm just wondering why a Wednesday? I just like,
Say that again?
why did we pick July 9th
I pick
instead
it
of
because
the
of
11th?
because of the staff in Omaha. Usually they don't want to do it on a Friday, so I just picked that. But if you have a better
Okay.
date, it just.
No, I was just curious, it just weird. All right, so then it'll close on July 9th. And then we will do a meet and greet, something for the public on July 18th. And then the interviews would be on the 19th.
Sounds good.
That
Okay, we'll move forward with that.
okay. Well then. I think if nobody has anything else to add, I think we have a good timeline and we'll get that going and Jill will post a special meeting and then
Good.
we'll start it from
Okay.
there.
Good work,
Okay.
everyone. Good work.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too. Okay, so that is the work session. We're adjourned. Are we done?
Yeah, if you guys are good, I did that, yeah.
Please.